Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here I am late again making my video. It's a Friday and Wednesday I was just totally busy, Other people don't see Wednesday as anything very special. To them it's just midweek. And it's part of the work week. And Sunday is their special day. Sunday is their special day. It's when they go to church. It's when they commune with others. But Wednesday is not holy to them at all. Wednesday means nothing to them. It means something to us, but to them it means nothing. So, because Wednesday means nothing to them, they load you up with work on Wednesday and they want to see you on Wednesday, and you have mandatory meetings on Wednesday, and then the mandatory meetings roll over and run longer, and they want you to get all your work done on Wednesday, and there's a computer glitch and you have to do everything on Wednesday, and then there's more to do on Wednesday. So Wednesday is a very, very busy week for me, so I was not able to either A, celebrate Heavenly Mother's Day on Wednesday, or B, I was not able to make my video about Heavenly Mother's Day. So this year, I will have Heavenly Mother's Day on a Friday. I know it's upsetting and it's not the real thing. It's not the real thing like it should be. It should be on Wednesday. But you do what you got to do when you have no chance. And Friday is significant too because it's Frida's Day, and Frida is a goddess, an ancient Norse goddess. All of the days of the week are named for Norse gods and goddesses, and Friday is Frida's Day, and we love Frida, so it'll be a goddess day for us this Friday, and we'll celebrate just this year, we'll celebrate Heavenly Mother's Day on Friday, on Frida's Day. And so what is Heavenly Mother's Day? Why do we celebrate it? Well, there's three aspects of goddess, as you know: maiden, mother, and crone. And this is the beginning of the Festival of the Mother, which is the mother aspect of goddess. And the mother aspect of goddess is very significant to us. The mother is very important. And we celebrate the mother. And we care about the mother. The real question is, in the midst of coronavirus, does the mother care about us? Does she care at all? Has she abandoned her children to their fate here on earth, and does she care nothing about their feelings or their experience? Because if you think about it, it really comes down to your feelings and your life experience, right? What's the quality of your life down here on earth? If you have to be separated from Goddess, why would we have to be separated from Goddess at all? And if we do have to be separated from Goddess, what is our quality of life like? And how are our feelings being treated? How are our feelings being handled? This is a really tough one. There's no clear answers. And I know what the atheists would say. They would say, well, if there were a goddess, she would be a terrible, terrible person. If she would be a terrible, terrible being. If she did these things to people, why would she create disease? Why would she do this? Why would she do that? So therefore, ergo, and as Linda Goodman taught me, therefore is a the sign of a mind being snapped shut. And they say, therefore, there is no goddess. Because no being could be so awful. And while I will admit that the goddess has a dark side, in this case, it's not really her foisting her dark side on us. That's not really what's going on. Obviously, the fact that she created coronavirus, or that she allowed diseases at all, is kind of dark. It's kind of part of Goddess's dark side that we have to confront. What kind of mother would want to kill her children now? You're thinking right now. You're thinking something else right now. You're thinking, this is going to be the worst Mother's Day ever. Because I have an elderly mother, and I can't see her on Mother's Day because I might give her coronavirus, and I don't know whether I'm a carrier or not, so we can't see each other. We can only wave at each other through a window and sing and dance through the window and wear masks around each other, and it's just an awful, awful day. It's just not any fun at all. And you're thinking, you, Sarah Jane, you're lucky that you still get to see your mother because you never go anywhere, and your chances of being infected are minimal, slim to none. So you're just lucky. You're lucky that you still get to see your mother. I can't see my mother at all because I might give her coronavirus. And that might be true, and it might well be the worst Mother's Day ever. But I just thought that in the midst of this crisis, and not disagreeing with anyone or saying that those aren't all very valid points, without disagreeing with anyone, I just wanted to point out that coronavirus has brought out the best and worst in people. And it's just interesting to observe. If you were just the eternal observer, which we have to imagine goddesses at this point, the eternal observer. If you were the eternal observer, wouldn't you be very interested in what's going on with coronavirus? The very best in humanity, the very worst in humanity is coming out. And we know for a fact that the very best and the very worst in humanity would not come out if there were no coronavirus. So just something to keep in mind, not making any points or saying it's a good thing for there to be coronavirus, but just making the point very, very carefully that we're seeing the best and the worst in people, and that people's best and worst sides are coming out. We're seeing Trump, for example, and his handling of the coronavirus, and how he keeps flip-flopping on the coronavirus and doesn't know how to deal with it, and keeps changing what he says, and how he makes mistakes that cost people their lives, and how he plays medical expert and gets so involved in it, and it's just a mess. Trump is a hot mess. Some of the bad things that have happened. A guy was told that he should wear a mask, that masks were mandatory, and that he couldn't come in unless he was wearing a mask. And he wiped his nose on a man's shirt. And he could have had coronavirus, and he could have given the guy coronavirus by wiping his nose on the man's shirt, but he did it anyway just to be a jerk. Another thing that happened, there's been some coronavirus shootings already. You know how shootings were a big issue. They were a hot button issue. Even before coronavirus, there were mass shootings going on. Well, now there's new incidences of shootings. There was a shooting at a McDonald's. I can't recall exactly where this shooting took place, but there was a shooting at a McDonald's. A woman was it was a woman this time. A woman was asked to wear a mask in McDonald's because it was mandatory. The government mandated it in that state, and the governor mandated it, and she was asked to wear a mask. So she went away, came back with a gun, and shot a bunch of people. And at first they thought she had an accomplice, but then it turned out she was acting alone. And there's been great acts of charity too. There's been, food drives and people volunteering for food drives, and restaurateurs that are just giving away free food to people, to their loyal customers. And there's been, there's people in government that are concerned. They're concerned about, especially about the minorities that are suffering so horribly from coronavirus, because they work jobs that put them at high risk, and they have no protection, and they're more vulnerable because there's a higher rate of diabetes amongst minorities. There's a higher rates of heart disease amongst minorities. There's higher rates of obesity amongst minorities, and it's a real killer for them. They're really dying in large numbers, and they're the most strongly affected. And so because of that, because they're the most strongly affected, the minorities, and it's especially Latinos and African Americans who are disproportionately affected. Because of that, they're making special efforts to help them and to reach out to them and to help them through this crisis, because they're dying and spreading like wildfire through the ghetto, and through inner city areas, and that's just a complete fiasco. It's a disaster. And think about it. You may not care about minorities, who knows, but if they catch it, they can give it to you, right? So it's a holistic view. Everyone's affected. No one can escape. Everyone's affected equally. No one can escape. We're all interdependent on each other. So just remember that, and remember that everybody, it's a holistic thing. Everybody's affected by everybody else because we can catch it from each other. There's no hiding and there's no escaping. So what can we do? The governments are doing all they can. Not all the governments are doing all they can. Some people don't care. Maybe some places in the South, they don't care, and Trump doesn't care, and there's a chance Trump could have already been exposed. He could have caught it already, and who knows if he's going to die or not. But it's a real crisis. It's a real crisis in America we're having right now. And Pence is going without a mask, so he shows his true colors. The Republicans are just in general, have taken a partisan view. Not a bipartisan view, a partisan view. And they have decided that coronavirus is not as serious as the financial repercussions and they feel that people are frustrated being at home and being without their jobs, and that they can play on people's worst side, that they can play on people's sympathies and get them riled up and get them angry and mean and mad and rotten. That can play on the worst that's in humanity and boost themselves up, boost up their levels of confidence, and boost up their levels of supporters this way. And they show that they really have no regard for human life. It's a shame, it's a horrible thing, but they really don't have any regard for human life. Their bottom line is more important to them than human lives. And winning an election is more important than human lives. There's the case of the man, it's all over the internet, the man who said that that the coronavirus response was madness. And he made a video about how it was madness to respond to coronavirus. And a few days later, he was dead of coronavirus. And it became a sensation. People were talking about it. They were like, can you believe this guy? He's dead now. And he didn't believe that we should support coronavirus efforts. In other words, some people, some individuals, some people, and I'm not naming names, and not saying it's specifically Republicans or conservatives, but certain people are of the mindset that until it affects them personally, they don't care. In other words, even if it affected their loved ones, they wouldn't care. Even if their best friend or their mate or their child died, they wouldn't care. They only care once they're dead. And even then they don't care. They don't care unless they die. Like if they survive, they're like, that was nothing. And who cares who else died? I don't care. It didn't affect me. This is nothing. I brushed it off. They don't care until they're dead. And that's really sad. That's really sad that some people feel that way. So we're seeing a lot of different sides to humanity. And coronavirus has brought this all out. Now, was this unexpected by Goddess? Was she not expecting people? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe she did. Maybe she did expect coronavirus to, maybe she did expect coronavirus to bring out the best and the worst in people. And maybe that's what she wanted. Like a lot of people, they're so involved in their lives. They're so invested in their lives. And their lives, what do they put in their family photo album? What's important to them? What's a series of birthdays and anniversaries and graduations and all the fantastic things, right? All the good things. And all the things that are important to them are good things. And they don't like to focus on the negative or see the dark side ever. But ask yourself, is that really why we're here? Are we here to enjoy ourselves? Are we here to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and graduations and vacations, and then say, let them eat cake? Is that why we're here? Is that our purpose in life? Do we have no greater purpose than enjoyment and to eat cake? Are we supposed to be having fun all the time? I don't think so. And considering that so many people have little attitude problems, I don't think so. I don't think that's why. I don't think that's the meaning of life. Even if you don't believe in Goddess, I don't believe that's the meaning of life. I don't believe our higher purpose, if we had a higher purpose based upon the universe, or the universe's decision or universal. I don't believe that a higher ideal for us or a higher purpose for us would be to have fun. It's kind of nebulous, and it's not really, not only is it not interesting, not only is it totally uninteresting and kind of boring, but if you think about it from a human perspective, it's kind of a waste of a life, right? If you're focused on having fun and enjoying special occasions, and celebrating birthdays, and eating cake all the time, like we do, like we tend to do at a celebration, there's no higher purpose. It's kind of a waste of a life. If we didn't have tragedies, if there were no calamities, if there were no resistance in our lives would be pretty boring, wouldn't they? And well, we couldn't show our better side or our worst side. We wouldn't have an opportunity. We would be static all the time, and there would be nothing interesting about our lives. You can see now the good that comes, the good that can come of bad, and the good that can come of being endlessly creative. You can see that's actually a good, that there's a positive to that. So I'm not pushing anybody, because I know people feel very strongly about this, but just a suggestion as to why there is bad, why our lives aren't pleasant, why people are dying horrible deaths in horrible ways, and not suggesting what comes afterward, but just saying that some good can come of it. Some good can come of the evils that we face, or what we consider evil from our human perspective. From our human perspective, what we consider the evils in our lives, like natural disasters, infectious diseases, and organic diseases, and things that are beyond our control. You know, what they always refer to as acts of God. We could see in acts of goddess, we can see the benefit of even the negative in our lives, because it brings out the best and worst in humanity, and that's a good thing. And we get to see people's true colors. There's somebody you've been harboring in your life that shows their true colors, then you can think about it. It's something to think about. You can think about, how much does this person mean to me? And is this person really important to me? And what's really important to me? Are my values important? Are my beliefs important? Are my ideals important? Where do I draw the line? Do I have to be totally pragmatic all the time? Do I have to be totally subjective all the time? Or are there certain things I stand by that are concrete, like rock solid, that are important to me? And if it's the latter, if there's certain things that are concrete and solid and really important to you, from a human perspective, there's a place for a human perspective. You don't have to be the rock of the ages. But from a human perspective, are there things that are important to me? And has this person gone too far and crossed the line? And you can see that. You can see that when something like this happens. You can see when somebody's crossed the line. And you can see whether that person is still important to you or not, whether you want to even have anything to do with that person. So coronavirus may break up some friendships. And at the same time, it might bring you new friendships. You might find common ground with somebody who believes the way you do about coronavirus and who actually cares about people's lives and whether they live or die, and the quality of their lives, or whether they become infected or not. That's common ground. So you might share common ground with some volunteers, and you might branch out and become more involved in your world and in your community. So there's some good that can come of it. And it's not all bad. It's bad, but it's not all bad. And we could blame Goddess, or we can say to ourselves, why did she do this? And we can think about it. We can think about it for a while, decide whether we agree or disagree with Goddess's decisions and her actions. And you might be saying it's all bad, it's all awful. It's just, we would just live with a perfect goddess in a perfect world, and a perfect goddess would never punish anyone, and she would never have any acts of goddess. There would be no acts of goddess. Everything would be, we'd live in paradise. Even if we're the most awful people, we'd live in a total paradise, and nothing bad would ever happen, and Goddess wouldn't have even created bad people. She would have created perfect angels, and they would have never done anything bad. And there's so many interesting things to see and know, and it just would have been nice. It would have been a really, really nice existence. But that wouldn't have been endlessly creative, now would it? And why would Goddess even create anything bad? Why would she make anything bad in the first place? So, just something to think about. You can think about it, reach your own conclusions, decide for yourself why there's bad and why a god or goddess would choose to be endlessly creative, and decide for yourself. Would you prefer? Which would you choose? Because people have created a lot of bad. And why would Goddess even give us the choice? Why would she even give us the choice to choose? Some people want to live in a perfect world and be perfect people and be with perfect people and never be given the choice between good and evil. Never be exposed to evil. And that's what they would prefer. That's what they would prefer. They would prefer to be in a heavenly paradise and never have a human experience. And they would prefer to be perfect people. But since you're all human, you can think about it in your own lives and decide for yourself whether you would have ever wanted to know evil, or to know the difference between good and evil. We're getting to a really deep level here. It's really deep, and it's a personal choice. You can decide for yourself whether or not you approve of the existence of evil, and whether or not you approve of endless creativity, or whether you would rather have Goddess basically cut in half and reject her negative side and embrace her positive side, and what you would have done with all the gray matter in between, that which is neither good nor evil, or that which is a little bit bad, or a lot bad, or medium bad. Where do you draw the line, or where good crosses into being an evil in itself? from a human perspective. This is all from a human perspective because you can't have any perspective other than a human perspective. You can't have Goddess's perspective or make her choices for her. And maybe she couldn't choose to reject a whole part of herself. Maybe she couldn't choose to become like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z. Maybe she couldn't choose to divide herself in half and have one half be all light and the other half of her be all dark and become her own worst adversary. Another part of hers become her adversary. She could have chosen that path, but you can think about why she would embrace her dark side and whether or not she would want to actually cut herself in half to please fallible human beings who obviously aren't complete or perfect in themselves. And there really is no such thing as perfection, not even in Goddess. Perfection is a fallacy. So those who are seeking perfection and goodness are deluding themselves, basically. And from another perspective, saying that there's good and evil is also a value judgment. So we can think about this. This is a lot to think about. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to absorb on Heavenly Mother's Day. And so I want you all to celebrate the Festival of the Mother on Sunday. You have a couple of days to prepare. And you don't have to go grocery shopping if you're afraid of coronavirus. You can stay home and use what you have at home to celebrate. Because it's not all about food like I was raised to believe. It's not all about food. I'm sure that in the back of your cupboard that you have picnicky things. And things you like to eat. And that's the main thing, to have things you like to eat. And picnicky things for Heavenly Mother's Day, because it's not all about fancy food. It's about what you like. About what you like. So have a good time. Celebrate in style. Make some hors d'oeuvres. Serve your guests who are all wearing masks, or maybe not. And enjoy Zooming with your friends. Have a Zoom session with all your friends. And enjoy Mother's Day. Enjoy Heavenly Mother's Day, and enjoy Mother's Day, Earthly Mother's Day, and enjoy the Festival of the Mother, and celebrate the wild, untamed, wonderful Mother. I'm Sarah Jane Alphawolf signing off, and hope you all enjoy the Festival of the Mother with the ones you love.